What's up guys, Jimmy Miracle here. We're going to be talking about Andrew Loomis figure drawing for all it's worth. Page 40. Details of the mannequin frame, the turnaround, front 3/4, profile, side, back. All the time you spend on this fellow pays big dividends. Learn all about him. I did a little warm up here and I am going to close the book here. I basically have tried to memorize this, and that is the goal here. And so this is book closed, and I will show you about what I know and give you some ideas how you can start memorizing and learning this stuff. So I'm gonna do all three turnaround views. This is the baseline, and here's the top of the head. I'm going to use this measurement. This is the symphysis pubis, halfway. Holding the pencil kind of like a painter, gesturally. This is bottom of the ribs. Or not the bottom of the ribs, that's the chest. Bottom of the ribs will go here. Just using these as guidelines. Once you get this firmly fixed in your mind, you can kind of dispense with the guidelines. But these will track all the way across. All right, let's start with the easiest, the front view we're so familiar with. This line's a little funky. I'm gonna correct it just so that they're all on the same height. I do this in pencil. And I got some Crayola markers, kids markers here, and a Sharpie. 24, 18 by inch, 24-inch newsprint. So let's get this head drawn in. And the width of the figure. The neck. The pit of the neck creating an ellipse because it's a cylinder facing forward. So thinking in 3 dimensions. Brow ridge there. Symphysis pubis, it looks like I've got the halfway a little bit too low, so I'm gonna move this down, otherwise all the figures would be. So I'm moving that down about a finger width to give my halfway line the proper dimension. So I was incorrect there. Moving this down a little bit will give me the proper figure proportion of 8 heads high. So shoulders come down to symphysis pubis. And within here is the clavicle coming on top of these balls. The chest plane, basically could wrap it here, and then this is his mannequin frame. It's a ball with a cape draped over it. And here's the ball of the rib cage with the arch of the rib cage here. And coming through the center of that, this looks a little asymmetrical. Correct it there. Good to not use an eraser. And just continue correcting your marks little by little, and then you can state them finally with the marker. It's kind of like not constantly picking up the eraser. So basically the rib cage is connected by, so this is gonna swoop here and then out again. Could come a little farther out, but basically we got this tapering, and then we have swooping in, swooping out into the feet. The arms following, echoing the rib cage, swooping out in, so the wrists are about on level with the symphysis pubis. Hands don't come down that far. Trapezius makes a little bump into the shoulder. This needs to be symmetrical on both sides. The arch of the ribs. Just reinforcing some lines, recorrecting things here and there. That's the medial epicondyle of the humerus, which is right below the bottom of the ribs. This coming here, the hand, thinking of as kind of a blocky form, grouping the fingers. So it's grouping the fingers, this one, and then this group, this thumb. It's good to not always have the fingers in the exact same arrangement. It's not the best, but I'm gonna keep going. And then I'll show you after I get this turnaround done, kind of how we're gonna assess the correctness of it. Basically gonna reopen the Loomis book, see what things he has done differently than me, how he has stated the gesture of the bones a little bit differently, and then try to absorb, recorrect mine, and basically keep learning that way. So Loomis is from the golden age of illustration, trained under George Bridgman at the Art Students League, where I studied at New York, in the same room. And these guys were master draftsmen. They really knew construction of the human form. I will leave the front view there. Oops, I forgot to do this arm as well. So this comes out, in. Let's bounce this down. Basically, we're kind of creating some thins and thicks in the arms, where the Loomis does this to give the arms a little bit more spring, so they're not quite as stiff. So there's the carpal, metacarpal, main finger, and there's the thumb. We got those a little long. So I'm just moving stuff in, maybe 1/8 inch, 16th inch here, there. That was a big move. That was a 1/8 inch move. So I'd say this is 11 inches. Let's move on to the 3/4 view. So the 3/4 view is gonna have the same height measurements. I'm sort of eliminating perspective. So I'm not drawing a figure in perspective like this, where the points are receding in space. I'm sort of flattening it for the sake of this diagram a little bit. That's what Loomis is doing. We're just trying to explain these forms. So center line ahead, center line of pit of the neck, chest, out to symphysis pubis. Line of the clavicles connecting through. I'm trying to find these in 3D space, which is basically this and this, but in 3D space now on the 3/4 view. This wrapping around, coming around, ball of the rib cage here, and spine connecting through, and thinking of these just as two discs for now is what he says. Loomis says that in his book. So we're simplifying this massively complex pelvis into two disc-like washer shapes. So I know this is wider than this, and this is coming in. So I'm thinking 3D tapering form, this swooping in, the same line, gesture out, gesture in, and the arms, kind of swoops them in and out. You can do whatever you want with the arms, but the main thing is the proportion of the elbow kind of coming to the bottom of the rib cage. So I'm just drawing with the side of the pencil here as a first lay-in. First lay-in. is not final, but light and gestural to give me the bones. This is the armature of the form. This, he really swoops back, so I want to emphasize that as a gesture back and in. Back and in. And again, I'm using outlines, but thinking of these as a cylinder, a piece of wire that I'm wrapping. I'm just not doing all of that. Comic book artists of Disney, animators, I mean, even the guy who drew Scooby-Doo, they're thinking of these outlines. It looks like the head, I've got it a little far forward. I'm gonna move it back an 1/8 inch. So I'm just looking at the read of the overall gesture. Mine looks like he's kind of leaning forward, so I'm gonna try to pull this back a little bit. Pull this center line back a touch, see if that helps. These are things like the adjustments that you would need to make to get your figure to balance, not leaning forward, not falling back. Anyways, I'll kind of leave that one. Draw the hand in here. Again, just making all this up from memory and knowledge of anatomy, simplifying complex forms into mannequin with significant landmarks, significant breaks of plane change. Smooth as something's feeling funky about my 3/4 view. I'll leave it there and we'll correct it later. Let's go to the profile view. Yeah, so it looks like he's leaning forward a little bit. I think I would need to move this whole top plane back. Basically over to here. I'll correct that one later. Let's move this over to the profile. So the profile, we're looking at this midline. So I'm thinking of this midline coming through here and in 3/4 view, chin, pit of the neck, the chest coming out a little farther than the front of the head. That's the ball, the rib cage. Neck coming through, jaw, front and side plane of head, drop that down. Let's move the shoulders behind the center line, lumbar vertebrae kind of going straight through the center line. There's my discs, the simplification of the discs, and kind of the gesture of the bones moving forward and then tucking back. And then these getting pushed back behind the center line. Kind of like that. Adjust this a little bit more. And rib cage bending down, disconnecting through. Elbow, wrist, hand, fingers grouped. Sternocleidomastoid, wrapping around. It's looking a little bit weird here. Bend that back more. All right, there's a side view. It's do 3/4 back. So seeing the back now. So the cylinder is going away from a C7 and the pit of the neck, creating that ellipse. What is really helpful in the back view is this S curve, which basically ties together the rib cage mass and the pelvic discs. These are in perspective, remember? So this is coming out a little bit. These are narrower. Basically, this is the thing I'm thinking about here. He's pushing back and out. Back, out. So I'm just using one line at the beginning and then something kind of like that you are building on, okay? This wrapping around the arm, swooping across and kind of tucking into the around coming through, narrower, wider thumb. So building on the anatomy that we initially put as large, simple construction lines, gestural armature lines, as if the figure was made out of wire. Move this elbow down a touch. All right, so hopefully this gives you some ideas about how you can study this from Loomis. So you want to be able to memorize it and make it your own. I'm obviously still working on it. I'm not as much of a master as someone like Andrew Loomis from the golden age of illustration, but he gave us a lot of keys and clues in his book that it's up to you to try to kind of hone and make it useful for you. That's kind of the purpose of books in general. Pass on knowledge, help you understand. I think it's a better way than learning than online videos and subscriptions, all those things. But so I'm making a video to point you back to books, really. That's pretty weird, but whatever. All right, so there's 3/4. Again, I'm gonna do a first land, second correction, and then a third inking. So kind of thinking in 3 steps of correcting the drawing. And even this, I did kind of a gestural line, correct the outline, and then just to give you more opportunity to draw. Am I gonna have enough room there? Yeah, I think so. Move this over. I'm kind of at an oblique view to the camera. All right, so let's get this back view drawn in. This is called a turnaround. Again, animators are constantly thinking about this turnaround. Sculptors think in terms of the turnaround, all dimensions, so that you can locate C7 here, C7 here, C7. C7 on the unseen side, C7 behind the figure. The shoulders coming at the same level. I'm getting sloppy there. That's wrapping around. Basically, that's the cape that he's talking about, of the chest draped over the shoulder. No, mine's not looking so good there. But here we go, this rib cage mass. thinking it as an egg-like mass. Thinking of these as masses, little tennis balls on the side of this egg. And these creating tie-in connections, rhythms. What the time is, 20 minutes. Whew, this video's getting long. Connect that through. Connect that through. Heels coming back. Getting a little bit long too. All right, once you've kind of got this far in your turnaround views from memory, basically you want to look at the Loomis book after you've gotten this far. See what gestures he changes, and also look at an actual skeleton. I've got a skeleton over here that I look at the bones and sort of try to imagine what these bones on the real skeleton would look like as simple animated mannequins, and give it life. What are the gestures that help create the illusion of life? So now I got a little kid's marker. Let's go ahead and just do this back view. I'm gonna clean my line work up and try to accent the 3D sense. There's C7, a line that's wrapping down. That's the trapezius line coming over, and then that's sort of how Loomis, that line got flat. So I'm trying to avoid flatness because we're describing these 3D movements coming, kind of giving these spring by moving in and out here on some of these limbs and joints is something Loomis really pays attention to. I don't know about this hand. You need to think of it a little bit more like a block. These are the discs, 3D washers in space. That's the sacrum, 3D washers that this spine is connected to, whoosh, coming out of these washers here. So we're creating a construct, legs pushing back, these pushing back, and then the heels coming back. So I'm sort of correcting the lines a little bit as I go, accenting the gesture of the spring of the bones. This arm's looking a little funky. I'm gonna bring it down 1/8 of an inch. And this is the bone overlapping the hand. The hand's way over there in space. And here, I'm just using pink kid's marker, Crayola marker here. You don't need fancy materials to study drawing. That's the cool thing. You can kind of just get a cheap newsprint pad. I'm gonna re-accent that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the basic proportions. 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's where I moved the proportions down. This is ischium. Mine's looking a little bit dumpy, so I'm bringing mine up, chopping that little bit off. All right, now once you got this far, open up your Loomis book back to the page where the mannequins are. See if I can find it. And let's see what Loomis does differently on his. Okay, so mine's reversed for one. Mine's looking pretty good here. My spacing on the edge of the head is looking not quite as strong. Let's correct the jaw. He kind of accents that away, so that's a nice decision. These are looking all right. The neck, he talks about the sternocleidomastoid wrapping around and this coming in front, which I didn't really state. This, he makes a little bigger deal of this overlap than I did. So that's a better illusion, I think. And then he pulls this down, and then here, he doesn't really connect that all the way through and just indicates the curve like that. So that's a good choice. So this is how you learn from a master. You try to memorize, and then you see after you think your memory is getting after what you're talking about. He doesn't even draw the edge of this. That's okay. My illusion there is not quite working. I'm just restating these discs, drawing in the sacrum. He doesn't even draw it in, but I'm sorry. This is in there. Let's see. What else does he do different? Pulls his bump out a little bit more because that's the olecranon, and then he sort of masses this as a gesture forward. The hand, he kind of makes a weird little lump. I don't know about his hand actually, not looking. One thing I am finding I'm doing is I'm making the great trocaners a little too small. He adds a little bit more heft because they're supporting the whole connection of the legs to the trunk. So you don't want to make them dinky like I'm doing. And then he pushes them up a little bit. So I'm drawing in reverse here, which is actually always a good practice here. And then he decides where to connect the line and where to leave it slightly open. Something's really hefty, you kind of want to accent and make it important. Let's see here. And now he's actually making a little bit bigger deal of this as this bumps in, and so his connection of the bones is a little better than mine. And I need to study that a little bit more. And this kind of pushing back. So he's making a big deal about pushing the femur bone back and then really kind of gesturing this rebalancing of the femur with the tibia and fibula. Here's a solid base. So those are a couple things I need to start watching out for, really, is so he doesn't accent the turn there. So this is just giving you ideas about how you can learn from Loomis, what to watch out for. This 3/4 back view. These are other turnarounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next step would be doing a page like this, where you're taking these figures and drawing them from imagination, different poses and stuff. Once you kind of get this under control, I'll leave you there. Hope this video helped you, and have a great day.